Hi, I'm Robert Reck. I own an executive search firm here in Milwaukee by the name of Kilbourn Marshall. I have successfully helped candidates navigate their way to new jobs on average once every 2 weeks over the last decade or so. Today we're going to be covering 5 topics thanks to questions gathered by Scale Up Milwaukee. The first is timing of hiring, predictions, experts versus generalists, what my clients are doing to hire today, and then what my candidates are asking. So let's start with timing. If I ask you, when is the best time to buy a stock, what would you say? And then if I asked you, what is the best time to buy a company, what would you say? So my question then is, why should that be any different when you're looking to buy a candidate in the market? I would say the best time to go out and do that is now. It's the same time as buying a stock and buying a company. You want to buy low when you have leverage. I'm not suggesting that you overextend yourself. So if you don't have the capital to invest in headcount, do not take that risk. I'm not suggesting that. But if you do have the capital set aside, you're not going to find a better time to invest it. All right, so for predictions, I'll give you 3 of them today. The first is around work from home. So candidates are going to demand it as we get back into a normal economy. I read a LinkedIn article this morning that said 60% of employees are more comfortable working from home than they were working from the office. So I think that trend is only going to continue as companies get used to it and as candidates see the flexibility that it's provided. The second prediction, I don't think this is going to be a quick recovery. I think it's going to be slow, and I think it's going to be protracted here for the next couple of years. You know, it's unfortunate. I think if we had a better response to the pandemic, it could have been a quick recovery. But from what I'm seeing, I don't expect that to be the case. And then the third prediction is, as employees come back to work, I think the first ones that are going to come back to work are really going to be anyone in the revenue value stream. So salespeople, anyone that's delivering services or out on a manufacturing floor delivering product to satisfy the demand in the market. All right, so moving on to experts versus generalists. The first thing I would say is we all start out as generalists. We could have chosen any career field that we wanted, and then over time we've become experts within our fields. It just takes time. So I do think that experts are going to continue to demand a premium for their services. You know, bigger companies have a lot more experts in different roles. Smaller companies have a lot more generalists. So what you're able to hire moving forward is going to really depend on what your business allows and what your market is allowing. That is going to dictate what you have to do. It really doesn't matter what you want to do, unfortunately. You know, I've got a client that came back recently. We started a couple of searches prior to the recession hitting, where we were looking for business development, and then we were looking for kind of that service delivery technical expertise as well. So those before the recession, we were looking at them on a separate basis. And now with the pandemic, thankfully that search has restarted. So we're seeing some positives in the market today, but those roles were combined. So we're looking now for a hybrid person, a little bit more on the generalist side. All right, the fourth thing we wanted to touch on today is how are my clients hiring? What does that look like today? So the first thing that I would say is initial interviews are happening over the phone or through, you know, Zoom videos like this. You know, and then final interviews are happening in person yet. So even over the last 30 to 60 days with the risks out in the market, I do think most employers feel like they need to set their eyes on someone in person before actually pulling the trigger on that hire. And I think the biggest thing that my clients are understanding right now is it's really those folks who are not impacted by layoffs, impacted by furloughs. There is this uncertainty in the market right now of, I don't know if I should be even exploring new opportunities because the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. So there's a lot of folks who are just hanging tight with the jobs that they have, regardless of the situation they were in before the pandemic. This has really created a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear in candidates. So I'm hearing back from them a lot more often than I used to, but I'm hearing a lot more of that they're not interested in making moves if they've been unaffected by the recession so far. The last thing we're going to cover today is, what are my candidates asking because of the pandemic? So the first one is really minor. So it's, what do onboarding processes look like if I do get hired into a new role? It's just a really minor question that's on their minds. The bigger question that I completely agree with is, what happens if I stay? What is that going to look like over the next 5 or 10 years? Obviously none of us know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but going through that thought process and really thinking long term, not is this the right move to make to pick up another 5 or 10 grand? That is not important today. It's, what is this going to do to set me up for the next 5, 10 years in my career, which, that's a best practice regardless of what the economy is doing. And then I think the other thing that candidates are asking themselves right now is, am I better off staying where I'm at or going to another company? And a lot of that really, unfortunately, is not impacted by your business itself. It's impacted by that greater industry that your business just plays within. So you're somewhat at the mercy of the market and how candidates are viewing the prospects for your business. So the more you can talk about how your business is number one, stable, and then number two, potentially tell candidates what your growth story is. How are you going to get there? How quickly are you going to get there? How reasonable are your plans to grow as soon as we can get back to a normal way of life, which, it could be 2 weeks from now. It could be, 2021 before we're starting to see growth again. But you have to have that story so that someone can buy into it and believe it. And if you don't believe it yourself, a candidate's not going to come and join you if you have that insecurity yourself about what's going to happen. And we all have uncertainty, but just being honest, candid, and saying, hey, we're going to be ready as soon as the opportunities are afforded to us. And here's how we're going to be ready. This is what we've done. This is what we put in place. If you don't have that narrative, a candidate's not going to buy into that. To recap today, what we talked about: number one, timing of hiring. Number two, my predictions. We'll see if those come true. Number three, experts versus generalists. Number four, what my clients are doing to hire today. And then number five, what are my candidates asking? If I can be a sounding board to any of you, I'd love to be a consultant or an advisor. Please let me know. I will definitely make time in my day to answer questions from anyone coming through Scale Up Milwaukee. Speaking of Scale Up, thank you so much to Mallory Davis and Elmer Moore. My contact information here is 414-676-2195. And then my email is pretty easy. It's my first name dot last name at kilbournmarshall.com. So that's robert.reck, R-E-C-K, at kilbournmarshall.com. Hopefully you guys are seeing some of the success that I'm seeing in the market today. We'll all get through this together.